Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley, and every week we work to bring you interesting people doing all sorts of cool and fascinating things in the world of Rotary and the world of service to others, and with great perspectives on how the world is changing around us. And today we have with us Eric Nordmo, who is a member of the Rotary Club of Santa Clara. It's how we got to know each other, because I joined that club when I moved back out to California some years ago. We became friends, and then after I moved to eClub, busy, standard call for all of us, he became the president of the Rotary Club of Santa Clara. So he can offer thoughts on what it means to be president of a Terra club, if he so chooses. But he is here to talk to us about sports. Eric is a former soccer player, professional soccer player, and he does a lot of very interesting work in the community and has plenty of thoughts about kind of the nature of sports in our society. And without further ado, let's hand it over. So members and guests, please welcome Eric Nordmo.
Well, Russian, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you. I can't tell you, well, I can, and I'm going to, how excited I am to be a part of this. I went online after you and I last chatted when we were on the airplane, and we ran into each other, and very impressed with what you're doing. Obviously, it's a wonderful opportunity for Rotarians to interact in different ways, and honestly, I'm really thrilled. So it's a pleasure to be here and be part of this. I hope you didn't leave the club prior to my because I was becoming president, but if you did, you wouldn't have been the only one. No, I'm kidding there. Very excited to be here again and share a little bit of the experiences. I actually wasn't a professional soccer player. I was paid not to play. No, I'm kidding. But I am a paid professional, which means they pay me to do something that I love to do, and I coach and work with athletes and their parents and other coaches. So they're very involved in the athletics, not just soccer, but a lot of different sports. So if we go ahead and get started, I'm going to try to jump onto a presentation that I put together, and hopefully I can figure out how to do this. Rushton coached me very well.
Just remember the entire screen option.
There we go. Got that. And then does that work for you? Hopefully you can see that. If you cannot, then I assume Rushton's going to jump in on me. I wanted to share with you some factoids, some information to kind of tease you into the presentation that I'm going to give you. And I want to introduce you to a young man named Bryan Stow. He was a fan of the Giants, and his Giants team was playing the LA Dodgers a few years back. And the unfortunate thing about this young professional, he was an emergency medical technician. He went down to LA and he basically had a major life-changing event where he was beaten, and he lost a good functioning of his brain. He's recovering now, but he will never be the person that he was. It's unfortunate that a sporting event could bring somebody to this. And you can see what he says in a recent interview, that I just want the world to know that once you put the world of sports aside, it's only just a game. But clearly for two individuals, it was more than a game. And clearly for the family of Bryan, it became an even more challenging episode. In the last of the comments, he says that the Dodgers and the Giants and sports fans shouldn't be so serious. And some sport is taken very seriously, for right or wrong. I guess that's kind of what we're here to talk about a little bit. In this past week, I went through the newspaper and just saw some articles that were written, or headlines that were about sport mostly, but you can see that they touched on many different things. For example, the Santa Clara mayor has just ordered an audit of the San Jose's football Levi Stadium costs. So basically, the Santa Clara has been paying the costs of the Levi Stadium and hasn't been reimbursed by the 49ers. Other snippets of news: Yahoo Sports reaches 125 million viewers monthly. ESPN, 80 million viewers. Problems, out of control parents. This was an article that was written in the Athletic Business Journal recently. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but these are topics that we may be able to discuss a little bit later after my discussion here. early specialization and child exploitation in sports. Youth sport dropouts. 1/3 out of teens are dropping out of sport. And the question is why? Some more factoids. The sport industry is $14.3 billion annually. That number is actually going to change as we go through my presentation here in a little bit. Growth of sports, 12% annual growth. If you had a stock that was growing at 12%, that would be pretty magnificent, and I think you'd be doing quite well. And there's certainly a lot of new opportunities and occupations that are growing with sport, everything from professional umpires and referees, certainly coaches and scouts have been, athletes, but now athletes may be paid at the collegiate level, which will really change things a lot. And there are other activities that go beyond sport that are kind of part of what I would call the market of sport, and which would actually influence that $14.3 billion to be even higher. Let's put these things in perspective. Education as an industry in the U.S., there's about 50 million participants in that, and we are investing, or we're seeing a financial investment of $16.9 billion. The military as an industry in the U.S. is $35.4 billion as of 2010. So what do those mean? Well, sports has its good, it has its bad, it has its ugly. And we're going to talk a little bit about all that today. And hopefully we can expand your understanding of sport and judge for yourself whether sport is really something that we should be clamoring toward, or whether it should be something that should be locked away in a closet. So today, I'll give you a little bit of a bio. I think Russian already did that. Just give you a quick snippet of what my business is, and then we'll talk about the state of the union of sport, and we'll go from there. So my takeaway points for you from this meeting is to help you have an enhanced understanding of recreational sports market, a little bit of insight in what's going on in the sport world today. Clearly, it's a huge market. We're not going to touch on everything, but we'll touch on a few important aspects and some that are probably not too important or relevant, but might be a little bit fun. And we'll give you a little bit better understanding of what it might take to make sports better, and share some ideas and have some fun. So again, you already know a little bit about me, but I've been very fortunate as a Rotarian to use my vocation as a soccer coach and to help change lives around the world. And that results from everything of giving sports equipment to providing know-how and accountability processes for developing sports programs in everywhere from Africa to Central America to South America and beyond. Is my passion, it's my life. I've been playing soccer since I was 5. So use the math, that's going to put me at close to 52. And I have been very fortunate to have a father that was highly instrumental in engaging me in soccer. And in grade 4, I realized that my passion was soccer, and that somehow my destiny was going to be tied to that. And within that destiny, I was able to create a sports business called Off the Wall Soccer, and work within that industry to develop a lot of sports programming, as well as being a professional coach at the high school level, collegiate level, professional level, and even the level all the way down to the wee ones, the 6-year-olds and younger. Little of our facility and what we do there, everything from soccer to flag football to drone flying, a lot of activities that can be done in an open space are done in our facility. So very fortunate to be in the business for 23 years now. And our business is one of the leading barometers of sport, and we have been very innovative in our technologies, and I think that's one reason why we've been very successful in sustaining 23 years in business. So let's get on to it then, shall we? John Wooden, your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think of you. Certainly there are people in sport that give inspiration. They provide a mindset for young athletes, young students to want to move toward in their lives and perhaps provide for themselves or their family. Sport is a way out for some. It's a passion for others. It's something to just be bet upon by even others. So what's good about sport? Well, there are a lot of studies that would say that the physical and mental benefits from sport are outstanding. It improves self-image. It provides life skills, and it develops a lifestyle that will go forward in maintaining health and mental fitness, as well as understanding the techniques and tactics of any particular sport, whether it be an individual sport or a team sport. Sport is a business. It employs. My business right now, again, 23 years, we've employed a number of high school students, of people that would probably be unemployable in other industries, and we've given them their first step into the working world. Sport is a business. It employs referees, employs groundskeepers. The number of the dollars we'll talk about in just very shortly are staggering, and there are certainly a lot of these in sport, and they continue to develop just about daily, if not hourly. A lot of new sports are coming in the X generation. We saw the X Games that came out a few years ago in San Francisco, and they made their debut, and they've been very popular since. There's been a lot of changes in sport, in skiing, in extreme sports. So opportunities are abundant. It's a huge growth market, as I mentioned earlier, 12% growth annually in sport. And for some, it's the pathway to success. And for others, it's the pathway in the opposite direction. So what are some... Well, studies show that those that participate in sport have a 20 to 35% reduction in chronic disease and or early death as adults. Projected growth of $145.3 billion since 2010 to 2015 as an industry. These numbers are provided by the Sports Groups Manufacturers Association. But the numbers are actually much deeper than that. In fact, the numbers might be 3 times that as we start looking at the underground industry in sport. Education in sports. And this is probably one of the key factors that will help sports either become very successful or continue in the future, or may result in its decline if sports as education isn't adopted more clearly by a number of sport industries. So there's been a 1,000% increase in upper education programming offered for sport in the past 10 years. In fact, I did a master's in recreational sports science from Ohio University, and the programming there was exceptional. Although as a soccer coach, there are a number of educational forums that you must attend to before you can be considered a master coach, if you will. My credentials, which I believe may have been already shared with you, indicate that I have spent a good amount of time not just coaching and playing, but also becoming educated. And as an educator as well, in coaching college and teaching college, I've recognized that the educational process has a lot to offer to sport. So let's talk a little bit more about the facts. Sport has been great for female participation. Title IX, the enforcement by NCAA has resulted in a tremendous amount of female players. 75% of girls have acknowledged that sport does enhance their self-image. We have over 50 million participants in sports, and that can be very meaningful when you think of the sedentary lifestyle of somebody can result in disease. Those people that are being active, whether it be an individual sport or team sport, is an awesome way for them to really develop themselves and do something fun at the same time. There's been a number of successful athletes. I kind of threw a few out there that might be well known depending on the age of the viewers of this presentation, but President Gerald Ford was at Michigan. I believe he was a center or a quarterback, or he was up the middle somewhere. Julio Iglesias, the famous singer, was a professional goalkeeper in Spain. And then, of course, Bruce Jenner. I had written this presentation before Bruce Jenner became Caitlyn Jenner, so a little bit of change there. And then, of course, you have Brandy Chastain, who was just house last the barbecue in the backyard. And you actually might see that on Sports Tribune if you log on to their webpage. So what's the bad in sport? Well, there are issues with overtraining, how our coaches work with our athletes. And in fact, the entry barrier into becoming a coach is extremely low. Many former athletes transition into coaching after their playing days are over. And there's a tendency within that to bring in coaches that really aren't very well informed and subscribe to training practices that are a bit archaic and might be actually damaging to the athlete. So there's certainly pressures that come both from the family, from the schools, and from the coaches. There's dealing with the athletic failures, and then gambling and corruption. Gambling is an interesting component of sport. As a matter of fact, and I may be sharing this in detail later, is an $80 billion a year. So if you add that into that $145 billion in sports, that puts us up at $200 billion. In fact, the sports industry gambling would be its 5th largest GNP in the world. So the gross national product, if gambling were an industry or a country, they would be the 5th largest country from a monetary standpoint. And certainly corruption, what's going on in FIFA is no secret to anybody in the world that has a smartphone or a radio or a television. And I fear that corruption is far deeper than what we're seeing. We see it in other sports as well. Also, part of the bad is the reliance on sports as a way out. There are many athletes that matriculate toward a sport and spend less time in educational forums and learning to be a good student and getting that good education, and seek the easy way out. And the realities of sport, and we could spend a whole session just talking on this, is sport can be very damaging in the long run for to look at that as their way out, and then they're sorely disappointed when they find out that they have injury that's going to take them out for the rest of their lives. And that goes without saying, the issues of long-term injury, ethics and morals. Long-term injury we can talk about, chronic and traumatic encephalopathy, the concussion injuries that are occurring daily right now, and what's happening there. The State of the Union for sports. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. That mindset has been in sport, certainly in American football, for a long time. Vince Lombardi, coach. It is a construct and a concept that might be actually damaging to sport, although I know it's easy to rally around those types of cries out there on the sport field. It is meaningful for you as an athlete to have that mindset, but at the end of the day, are we taking it too serious? So here are some of the facts about the bad. Athlete injuries are trending down in age, and that means that a typical injury, say at a 14 or 15-year-old high school football player with a shoulder injury, is now turned into a chronic knee injury for a 10-year-old girl who's playing soccer, or perhaps for a gymnast that's age 5 and 6 and now is being required to do various types of stretches and maneuvers, balance and agility activities that will damage the knees and ACL, MCL. The specialization is through the roof right now in terms of the numbers. I see it in soccer. Really what we need to see is a little bit of a change in specialization, and the country or our government or someone coming down with some strict rules on what and when specialization can occur. Sports gambling, as I mentioned earlier, $85 billion, fifth largest GNP. Gambling has a big influence on corruption, perhaps. Certainly we've seen that in the boxing industry and some other industries as well. Some other facts, highly competitive for athletes right now. The competition to be a good athlete, tremendous. We see athletes cheating the system, taking drugs and performance enhancement drugs as well. Now we're seeing the athlete more as a transactional commodity and not so much as transformational. And just to side out on that, Brazil, one of their biggest exports right now is soccer players in terms of the amount of money that the country is getting for them. Other facts that are bad. Football and the NFL athletes are in trouble. Lawsuits are coming out near daily. The Pee Wee Football League is being sued on a continual basis. In fact, in the August of last year, the Pee Wee president was quoted in 60 Minutes as saying he spends half of his time dealing with lawsuits right now. There's some very meaningful lawsuits that came out in the last week or two that are going to tear apart that, as is the lawsuit, class action lawsuit that's coming toward the NCAA. And the NFL has recently settled a $1 billion lawsuit, but I'm not sure if that's going to be kicked up again. It was previously settled at $750 million. Certainly, the NFL has done very well, and there are some challenges that are going to continue to plague the NFL. The Super Bowl, World Cup, Olympics, all clouds of controversy, everything from the construction of the stadiums to betting to cheating to laws or rules being broken to get specific teams in. There's certainly a lot of challenges. So I guess the question is sport really bad, or is it a reflection of society? And we'll kind of talk about that in a moment. College women, 50% of women are 50% of students are women, but only 45% of scholarships are offered to women. So there's a little bit of inequity there as well. Serious sports has nothing to do with fair play. It is bound up with hatred, jealousy, boastfulness, disregard for all the rules, and sadistic pleasures in witnessing violence. In other words, it is war minus the shooting. George Orwell, novelist. In fact, I had to read a book when I took my classes on sports science, and one book in particular was called Fair and Foul by Stanley Eitzen. And he talks about the mysteries and paradoxes of sports. And boy, I tell you, when you are a sports coach, a soccer coach, as I am here, and you've spent 30 some odd years of your life dedicated to sport, you read a book like this, it really shakes your foundation as a coach and makes you really question what it is that you do or what you're doing, and how beneficial it truly is. At the end of the day, I don't think that your faith can be as strong without having some type of a questioning of it at some point. And certainly I feel even stronger now that sport does have meaningful significance to our athletes, to our children, but it needs to be tempered, and it needs to be governed in an appropriate fashion, and there needs to be a higher duty of care provided by all those that are involved in sport, especially coaches. So a bit about Lee. I mentioned concussion. The concussion injury protocol right now is changing. We're identifying it more. The number of concussions is up tremendously. Over 1.8 million, I believe, concussions were diagnosed last year. Sport bullying is a big issue. Bullying is an issue certainly throughout society, but in sport it can be even more damaging, as you saw recently with Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito, what happened there, and suicides that have been a result of bullying, and perhaps bad coaching behaviors are displayed on television websites. Bad athlete behaviors we're seeing. Is it a lot of that, or are we just seeing it because it's attractive and people want to see it? And cheating. As we saw our famous bicyclist Armstrong, Lance, he obviously turned out to be not quite the person that we all thought he was. And then if you look down in the left-hand corner there's behavior by one of the icons in soccer, and really challenging when you see something like that on national television and your child is watching, and one of your players, favorite players, bumps his head right into the chest and another one falls. Concussions, they're on the rise, all sports. In youth sport, they're between ages 8 and 13, up 200%. Soccer has recently mandated that heading not be allowed at certain ages at all, and that at other ages it would be allowed only in game time activity, which is kind of brings us to a question of, is it meaningful to not let them train it, but let them participate in a game activity? I, for one, probably am proposing for our arena leagues that we do away with heading entirely, and that may come for the outdoor soccer leagues as well. There's been catastrophic implications for concussion through all the sports, and there are still plenty of lawsuits coming. Long-term effects I mentioned earlier about sport bullying are very traumatic and dramatic. But we've wonderful videos. officials. We've seen officials that have actually been murdered, not just in foreign countries, but in our country as well. And the coaches, little things like coaches running up the score. Is that entitlement? Where are we going with the violence, not only out on the field, but up in the stands? So for the Gilly game, is all hope lost? I really don't think so. I think coaching education, coaches and training program, mentoring programs, the PCA, Positive Coaching Alliance, these entities or organizations all offer a good opportunity for the coach, the parent, the athlete, the administrator to learn what is important about sport. And of course, us as a nation developing a mindset of what is meaningful for our children, what's important for us to balance the financial component of it with the ethic and moral component of it is extremely important, in my opinion. Certainly an increased awareness of concussion and injury. One of my duties is the general manager to a club called Liverpool FC in the United States, which is actually associated with the UK professional program. And my mandate there is to work with our coaches and athletes and parents on a holistic approach of understanding not just concussion and injury, but proper nutrition, activities and behaviors, activities for rest and recovery, so that we're not burning our players out at a young age. There are a lot of technologies that are coming to the fruition right now in terms of understanding how we train, what we eat when we eat, and video recording, things of that nature. Science and research offers us better insight into nutrition, performance, and practices for training. Amateur coaches to professional coaches, we again have a heightened duty of care as a professional coach, and sharing that duty of care with our amateur coaches is very important. There is a life cycle for an athlete, and that life cycle goes from being somebody that's just interested in having fun to somebody that becomes passionate about it and driven toward it. Matriculates there, and then at some point, if they're still passionate about it, they come back into the sport as a professional. He's a professional coach or as a referee. And then when you get to be my age, you become more of a mentor toward the other coaches and help develop them. And then after my age, who knows what happens, but I know I've got some hip injuries that are bothering me right now, so hopefully I can survive that. There is a new future vision for sport, and I think that's it's very meaningful. It'll offer a lot of opportunities. As you can see from my demonstration here, the financial component of sport is immense. I don't think it's going to go away. I think what we need to do is have better governance of it and managing it so that it is meaningful for everybody that participates. I'm happy to have any type of discussion. As you can see, Coach Harbaugh and I are very good friends. He's now at Michigan, no longer at San Francisco.
Good stuff. Yeah, and Eric, thank you for the presentation. Lots and lots of material to cover there. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And again, it's a lot to cover. So many different components of it. It's every one of those components can be a lifelong or week-long discussion. Well,
we've still got a couple of minutes that we can devote to some questions. And so what I'd love to kind of get a head on, because you covered a lot of the bad and the ugly in scary detail right now on that. But where do you see sport and Rotary kind of coming together? Are there particular leagues that are doing a great job with service, or things like that, where you find that that people who are into improving the community are finding really clever ways of doing that through sports?
I'm sorry, Rushton, could you repeat that? You kind of froze up on me, and I just caught the last couple words there.
Not a problem. So how can Rotary use sport to improve the community? Where are there kind of examples of really clever, innovative ways of getting sports to be, kind of helping identify possibilities that we might not have seen otherwise, where Rotary clubs are kind of taking the initiative on that front?
Well, certainly Rotary, from the experiences that I've had, we've utilized a lot of travel groups that have gone abroad to provide everything from toothbrushes to computers, to cleft palate surgeries, things like that. And a number of these organizations have gone, and we've been very clever about packing their bags full of soccer balls and cones and bibs and jerseys and things like that. And they have turned out, in many occasions, to be even more sought after than the original gifts of hope or surgeries or whatever it may happen to have been. In fact, in Mecca, Mexico, we brought some computers, and we being the Rotary Club of Santa Clara with Morgan Hill and Area 6, sent some soccer balls and equipment down there, and it was so wildly popular that they've asked me to come down because they would like to present me with some type of an honor, which is it's very honorable to have that accolade, but certainly there's a lot more meaningful things out there. At the end of the day, we're talking about a kid's game in soccer, and all the games are kids' games. But one of the best things I think that a kid can do is go out there and just play and enjoy the time with their dad or their mom. It's very meaningful. There are a number of programs in the East San Jose area that focus on providing opportunities for kids to play without fees, which means they're going to get quality coaching and quality programming, and that allows the kids to have something to grasp onto, something that's hopeful rather than being involved in a gang. A soccer team really is a gang, just as a Boy Scout is a gang or a baseball team is a gang. It's a gang of friends that get together and they provide support for each other. There's, again, a lot of wonderful things that sport do bring for us, and sometimes we focus on the negative. But the activities that are provided for by a number of Rotary programs and social service clubs are tremendous. We at Off the Wall Soccer often try to provide instruments to support sport activities, whether it be soccer goals or equipment or even just funds to help develop these programs and keep them sustained.
Very cool. Well, I think it shows the power of finding the right way to connect with the community. So, if you're doing, whether it be wheelchairs or optometric, kind of efforts in different places, whatever it may be that in order to get the community to really embrace a Rotary Club as a partner, it has to do with coming up and showing that you're providing things that their children really need in order to just be happy, right? And that creative approach to connecting with community can mean that the service efforts can be far more effective.
Sure, surely. And one aspect of giving and working hard for developing international peace and understanding is the interactors of District 5170 last year. And forgive me, I don't know the exact number, but I think they took 20,000 soccer balls. These were special soccer balls that didn't need to be pumped up. In fact, they could be sat on by an elephant and they would still be sustainable as a soccer ball. And they took these balls down to Vietnam, and they distributed those balls as kind of a peace project of something that they did. I think that soccer ball is really cool. As a matter of fact, I suggested to them, maybe you can create some type of way to create a device in there that would give some centrifugal energy and be able to be used as a charger for a phone or a light later at night. So, kick that ball around, use that energy that's in there, and then plug it in later and somebody can use it for lighting their home or something along that line. I'm sure there's technology out there, and if there isn't, I'd be willing to work with any one of your Rotarians to help make that happen.
Yeah, I remember catching a program in the last year or two about somebody who was working on exactly that idea. But there's kind of so much more of an awareness of we don't need to do things the way they've always been done. We can come up with this kind of clever way, that connects with people's real interests. It's pretty cool. We have run out of time. So what I'll do is I'll wind things down, and then Jan Eric, I'll pass it over to you for a final thought for our members and guests. But members and guests, make sure you do the attendance survey just down the webpage so that we know you are here. By doing that, you also, if you're a guest, you also get an email that you can then share with your club secretary in order to be a makeup for a missed meeting at your own club. We believe every Rotarian can be a 100% attendee, given how easy it is to make up a meeting with a quality eClub.
Might interest you, and hopefully we can. Oh, you're back! I see you.
I am, and I think my part may have successfully recorded, so we'll stay with it. But what we want to do is we want folks to tell us they were here, and then add a comment in the discuss section. So DISQUS, you can create an account, or you can use a number of different accounts, Google, Facebook, or others, to log in and leave a message. We love getting people's thoughts, especially with regard to how we can improve what we're doing. We know we can get better at what we do, and so we welcome that from you as well. So Jan Erik, to finish things off, if there's a particular idea that you want to share with our members and guests, that'll do us.
I think whatever vocation it happens to be that you're in, I think if I could apply soccer toward helping through Rotary, I think that's fantastic. Education is a critical component for me in my life, and everything that I'm doing right now. I want to educate and be educated. I probably want to learn more. I'm a little bit selfish that way. I want to learn more because I think I can help more with the more knowledge that I have. So I invite you all to turn your passion into a opportunity to help Rotary in your club. And I look forward to seeing you out there in the Rotary world.
Awesome. We look forward to seeing everybody again next week. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Russ.